And welcome back to episode 178 of the Weekly Tech Rant with me, Jay.
And me, Karl.
Oh, Carl, I don't think summer stayed around very long. It's got very cold all of a sudden here
It's got lovely here.
the recording
The sun
studio.
has gone away. I'm not too hot anymore. I'm not dying of heat exhaustion. It's lovely. Bring back the rain.
I look out the window. It's looking very autumnal, or fall-like for our US listeners. Grey, overcast, cold, bit windy.
It is.
I think this is all to do with the back end of, is it Hurricane Ernesto?
I think it was some hurricane, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Ernesto who's just recently barreled through Puerto Rico and up through Bermudas, and now the weather pattern that it was is now kind of attacking the UK. Not in a bad way. I think we've got a lot of rain up north in the UK, but southern areas like us are just getting this weird overcast issue. But
just grey.
Yeah. But weather forecast, it's tech. It's weather forecasts are super technical, aren't they? So
they are indeed.
So this week, then, we are not going to be talking about the weather, but we are going to be talking about the iPhone Air, Cisco and their job cuts, PlayStation VR 2 PC adapter. Yep, we talked about that quite a bit, but there's been a latest hands-on review, which isn't great. The recent Google Pixel 9 launch event. Yes, there are more Pixels coming your way. The US is looking at maybe about breaking up Google. I'm not sure whether they will, but we'll look at that. And Apple has opened up the NFC chip as agreed, but it's going to cost you. More on that in just a second.
Always a but.
And the Tech Rant Rumour Mill is back, and we'll hold fire on that before we get there. So let's talk about this iPhone Air then, because I could have put this in the Rumour Mill, but I think this is starting to build actual sort of real, looking to something real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so we obviously talked about the iPhone 17 Slim, as it was known, back in July, wasn't it? 10th of July, I think it was. But yeah, now it seems they've changed the name, or the rumor mill is stirring. They're going to call it an Air, like after the MacBook Air. This has come from Mark Gurman. So basically, he was saying that basically it's for those people who want something a bit snazzier than the standard iPhone, but don't really need the performance, the screen size, the cameras, or the price of the Pro models.
I like the way you caveated that at the end. The price.
Yeah. Well, actually, we don't know the price of what this is going to be, but yeah, they don't need all the cool features. They're happy with the basic specs. They just want something a bit different and nice, and this is kind of where this is aimed at. And I suppose it was a bit like the MacBook Air when it first came out. It was better than the MacBook, wasn't it? But it wasn't a MacBook Pro.
No. And those Airs, I have to say, if you use that analogy and look at the MacBook Airs, they are pretty decent machines, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
And we've talked about this before. Like, if you take a MacBook Air, those 15-inch ones, that's probably about kind of the sweet spot for 99% of users. Does everything, it's powerful enough. And if you move that analogy into the phone, you're right. And Michin Kuo talked a little while ago, didn't he, about saying that there was this slim device coming that would only have a 48 megapixel single rear camera.
Yeah.
Rather than the kind of triple or double setup, depending on your phone at the moment. So again, you're right. If you've got one decent camera on there, you've got a decent screen, good battery life. Yeah. And again, iPhone 17, it's going to have an A17 or higher CPU at that point, because it's not this year, it's next year's. So it's going to run Apple Intelligence as well.
Yeah.
The assumption it would be. But yeah, you're right. And I think the Pro lineup is awesome. Don't get me wrong. But you're right, a lot of people probably don't need everything on there, do they? They could get away with a subset of those capabilities.
Exactly. They want something, yeah. It's a bit different. It would be quite a radical departure from the current designs we've got, which might be a nice change for everyone.
Well, again, they do need to, the iPhones sell very well. As we know that they, alongside the services part of Apple, they are the kind of recurring revenue every quarter. And you're right. There is a point, I guess, where people are going to want to say, I want something different. Because an iPhone's an iPhone, isn't it? They haven't fundamentally changed in the last couple of years. Apple did try, obviously, with the iPhone Mini, but the rumours were that didn't...
The Plus, didn't they? Did the Plus?
Yeah, the rumours didn't sell very well.
Spec. No, neither of them sold massively, did they?
But I think that, but people I've spoken to have had the Mini said they really liked the phone. They really liked it.
Not enough of them like the phone.
Well, no.
That's the problem.
That's a good
people might want something different, but they don't want to go different, like by going to Android.
Yeah, I'd say, but would we then end up with a whole subsection of the phone? So you get not just an Air, but you'd end up with an iPhone Air
Mini,
an iPhone Air Max. I don't know. Are we going to go down that road? Because that's basically what they've done.
I think that's too much for Apple. I think on the phones, I think you're never going to get more. I think 4 or 5 different models in one year.
No, the problem with that though is you ends up with too much choice, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then never knows what to buy. But yeah, I mean, what did make me laugh about this news story though is actually John Prosser did a whole video on this about it being called the
Process.
iPhone
Where's
Air over 2 weeks ago, and
what
basically
John?
everyone ignored him. Yeah, everyone ignored him, and now that Gurman is saying it, everyone is kind of listening. But
What happened to Prosser?
he's still putting out videos. He's still doing some good stuff. But yeah, there's no mention of or attribution to Prosser or Gurman on or from Gurman or 9 to 5 Mac. They just seem to ignore that this existed. But I think there's a bit of a grudge going on between them.
Yeah, what? Yeah, but he was everywhere. A couple of years ago, Prosser was everywhere.
Yeah. Well, he does. He does a lot of stuff still, but he does it on YouTube videos.
Yeah, but I can't. We don't hear about him so much, do you? But there used to be him. He was referenced on other podcasts a lot.
Yeah.
He was, talked about it. But then again, though, what's his name? His partner in crime was Ian Zelbo. Do you remember who did all the 3D models? Didn't he go off to? Is it Mac Rumours or some 95 Mac or someone?
Exactly, one of those. But yeah, he did a whole video on this 2 weeks ago where he called it the iPhone Air and positioned it exactly as Gurman has now positioned it. But Gurman's obviously saying it's all news from him.
I do wonder sometimes with Gurman.
I think that's what John Prosser, that's what the grudge is about, that he doesn't seem to give credit to anyone else. He just takes other people's ideas, or allegedly, and repasses them his own. But I don't know. I just found it amusing thinking, wait a sec, I watched this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a tough one. That it is a tough one. I do wonder though with Gurman who he gets his sources from, because sometimes he's so close to the mark, isn't he? And you're like, where are you getting this from?
He's quite far off too.
Oh yes,
but he doesn't like anyone to pull him up on that one.
No, not at all. No, that's never mentioned by him at all, is it?
Exactly.
If he's wrong, I don't think I've rarely seen any.
I don't think I've ever seen him say I was wrong.
Yeah.
Also, at least John Prosser, I mean, he shaved off his hair and his eyebrows when he was wrong.
I forgot about that.
But he admitted he was wrong and followed through. But yeah, you don't see that from Gurman.
No.
Not that I'm expecting to shave his hair or eyebrows off, but I'm wrong, guys. Sorry. Every now and then might be nice.
Well, I guess it's different to what's his name, Michin Kuo, who just basically says different things all the time.
One of them's going to stick.
Yeah, I mean, Michin Kuo is pretty accurate. Let's be honest. Yeah. But he just, you do find that all of a sudden, like a month later, he just changes his tune completely. It's like, what did you say this last month?
Exactly. So we're talking a world of rumors here, so it's all hearsay, isn't it? Until it actually turns up.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Well, let's talk about something that isn't rumors then, which is Cisco and the latest announcement for them following a round of job cuts earlier this year. They have decided or made announcements that they are going to be letting go approximately 7% of its workforce, which based on employee numbers, based on employee numbers from about last year, they reckon last year the official number of employees was around 85,000. We say that pinch of salt. So they reckon, you reckon about 6,000, and they let go of 4,000 people in earlier this year.
Yeah.
And apparently this is all to do with them trying to kind of cut costs, isn't it? So their earnings that ended at the end of July said that they were down from 45% from last year to 3.96 billion per share. And they reckon that their revenues fell by 10% as well to 15 billion. So I guess they're struggling here, aren't they? They did buy Splunk though last year. Or was that this year? I can't remember. Was it this year?
I don't know when that was now. Within the last year, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, within the last year. But interestingly though, earlier in the year, as in a couple months ago, they said that they were going to invest over $1 billion in several startups, including Mistral and Scale, around their AI investments. And they just announced that they have partnership with NVIDIA as well. I mean, everybody wants to get on the bandwagon, doesn't it?
All get on the AI. But I mean, what surprised me though is the cutting of the jobs didn't seem to affect their share price. So just after the announcement, and their shares rose 6% in after hours trading. Obviously, they did their earnings report at the same time. Their earnings report was down as well.
Yeah, I wonder though whether or not that their shareholders are probably seeing this as a good idea, not for the loss of jobs for the people. I appreciate, as we always, those that are affected, but actually thinking, you know what, yeah, you need to do something here because
Cisco's a bit fat, isn't it? It needed a bit of a
yeah,
trim.
it needs a bit of trim. I don't think they're positioned particularly well at the moment. They are the traditional network security company, as we all know, but I just wonder, how are they positioning? Because Splunk was a weird acquisition.
Oh,
It
it
was one
was,
of the
yeah.
traditional SIEM platforms or security events and incident management platform, basically a log data lake. It's not got really any AI around it, so they're guessing they want to wrap that around it. But again, it's a bit like Intel the other week. How do you fix the bottom dollar? Get rid of the biggest expenditure to your business, isn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose like Intel, they've not really done anything much. It's just they're just plodding on, aren't they? Same on every day. It's just there's nothing new and revolutionary coming out.
No, and I'm sure there are people who are going, well, guys, you're wrong, you're wrong. There's loads of revolutionary stuff
Possibly.
coming out of Cisco. Well, I'm sure there is, but I don't really see it. I wouldn't say if you said to me cutting edge, I wouldn't think Cisco.
No,
No,
no.
and no offense to anybody that works at Cisco. Just for me, when I think of revolutionary organizations, they are not in that kind of sentence at this stage. This point in time, don't
They
get
have
me
been
wrong, they have
before,
done.
definitely.
They have done, yeah. And if you look at them as a position in the industry, the whole CCNA accreditations, my God, those were like gold, weren't they? People who have those could print their own, basically,
Yeah.
salaries, and there's time and effort went into it. But I think we've moved away from that now. And the change into cloud security, network security, the zero trust argument, all of that wrapped together, I think Cisco are not quite in the same position they used to be. But that's just my personal opinion,
Yeah.
not that of obviously anybody else. But you got to feel sorry though, like I say, for those 6,000 people that could, that potentially
on top of the
face it.
4,000 back in February, wasn't it? So
Yeah, it's not
10,
great, not great.
10,
And the
10,000 odd.
15,000 or so from Intel as well. I mean, the job market is not going to be a good place soon at all.
No, it's going to be very saturated.
It is. Well, changing tab then. Let's talk about the the PlayStation VR2 PC adapter. That's the words. I couldn't quite say it, but I got it out. So we both agreed, didn't we, before we start this, that the headsets themselves, based on the reviews, were pretty good headsets, weren't they?
Pretty decent. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, they were well restricted to PlayStation 5s. But yeah, they were good. They've got OLED screens. They have a good image quality. Obviously, the OLEDs, you've got some lovely blacks going on there. Good headsets overall. They got some cool technology. So we were a bit excited, weren't we, when Sony said they're going to bring out a PC adapter, though we couldn't quite figure out why you needed a PC adapter since it's USB-C.
No, that part was lost on us for a little
we
while,
knew
wasn't
Sony
it?
wasn't going to make it straightforward. But yeah, now these are out in the wild. We're starting to see reviews and feedback come in, and it's not been a great start, has it?
No, the first reviews have absolutely agreed with the visuals, haven't they? They've said that the blacks are really good. It's got a really deep, rich color. One of the reviews on The Verge, basically argued that the image quality was better than the Meta Quest 3. Again, we can't comment to that, but that's good praise. But as you say, it isn't quite as good as it appears, is it? In terms of the playability.
Users are basically reporting it's kind of been laggy, slowness, controller tracking problems, connectivity issues. But one of the biggest issues seems to be, so you have to have this adapter, and it feeds in. It's got DC barrel jacks for power. It takes USB from your PC and a display port in. It channels it all together into USB-C to feed the headset. So we don't know why USB-C can do all those by itself, but this is the way Sony have gone. But what they haven't seemed to have done is put a Bluetooth adapter in there. So you have to connect the controllers to your PC over Bluetooth, but apparently it's very, very picky about the Bluetooth adapter controller that you're using. Now, this is what made me laugh most. Sony does have a very small compatibility list of approved Bluetooth adapters. There's only 4 of them. And even then, it goes on to say, operation is not guaranteed.
I mean, that makes no sense. But I mean, you'd argue Bluetooth is Bluetooth, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's what you know.
But I suspect maybe that the Bluetooth chips in the hand controllers themselves aren't great, because they then go and say, right, so they recommend that you disable any onboard Bluetooth and only have the one that on the approved list. Make
which
sure
is
your
dongle,
make sure your dongle, make sure your Wi-Fi is running off 5 gigahertz and not 2.4 gigahertz, as it might interfere. Make sure it's plugged into a USB 2 port and as far away as possible from any other USB 3 ports. Weird. You should also use a USB 2 extension cable to move the Bluetooth adapter further away from the PC. Oh, and turn off all other Bluetooth devices in the area.
Well, and stand on one leg then and do a funny jig, and then it'll work, basically.
Yeah, it seems to be the gist of it. But obviously, we've still got these issues that you don't actually get. Even if the stars align and you get the Bluetooth controllers working, and it's not lagging and it's running fine, you're still missing half the features of the VR headset.
Well, yeah, or the best features as well.
Yeah, you don't get HDR. So you've got these lovely OLED screens that will give you blacks. You've got no HDR. You've got no eye tracking, so you can't do front-end rendering. On the controllers, you don't get the adaptive triggers, and you don't get the DualSense haptic feedback either. So even though Sony dropped it to what, 350, didn't they, the other day? It's now back up to full price. Even then, I don't think it's a good investment with all these issues and limitations.
I think the only investment you could argue here is if you already had one and you didn't want to spend money and get another VR headset, then you could buy the dongle and do it. That's I think now the only area I can see is having any kind of usage.
Would you want to put up with that? I mean, one of the guy we were reading on the review, and we'll link to it, said he basically tried for 8 hours to get this working and gave up.
Well, yes, that's a very valid point.
So, do you want to put yourself through that and pay for the privilege? It's because
I suppose
if it was just plugging it by USB-C to your PC and it didn't cost you any money, sure, give it a crack, definitely. But it's not. You actually have to invest to try this.
Okay, the question is then, who the hell is this for?
I don't know.
And did you see as well though that they need the adapter also has to have its own app installed?
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And it says basically Sony states in the terms and conditions that Sony let it collect limited data about the games, the hardware, plus necessary information necessary to detect and investigate malicious, unauthorized, fraudulent activity, and information required by applicable law and demonstrate compliance. What the hell are you collecting here? Very odd. Very odd.
Very, very strange. You're right. I knew it was too good to be true when Sony announced it.
Yeah.
It's Sony. We knew something was going to happen that would just ruin it.
Like I say, I think there's so much potential here with this device. If Sony had been smart about this and made it fully compatible, now there are probably technical reasons why it can't be done. Okay, but let's just say they can enable 98% of all the features.
Yeah.
And made it the price reasonable, they could have probably cleared the whole of their the stock of this.
Yeah, I mean, if it had all those features, including the HDR, the eye tracking, all those, the adaptive triggers, whatnot, it was working perfectly. I probably would have paid full price for it.
Yeah,
because I mean, if I'm looking to upgrade from my Quest 2 to a Quest 3, I'm looking at spending what, £500 for a Quest 3 or $450. So around a similar price to the VR2 headset. So I would have definitely considered that over the Quest 3 because I don't need standalone VR. I just want a headset to plug into my PC.
Exactly. I just think I do think there's just so much potential missed here by Sony here. Instead, what they've done is they've, to put it bluntly, done a half-assed attempt here.
Burnt any goodwill.
And burnt any goodwill. When actually this could have been a real stepping stone for them to move into the PC VR market, cement that that they've got a decent product.
Yeah.
And also, you might think, what? Oh, well, maybe I'll get a PlayStation 5 because this is really good. And I've already got the headset, or vice versa. I don't know. It just seems that they've
missed opportunity here.
Massively missed opportunity by them. But there we go. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. If anything else comes out, the changes, we'll let you know. But I think, Sony have completely nobbled it, as they say.
Yes.
Okay, let's move across then and talk about Google and the recent Pixel 9 launch then. So, like Apple, once a year, Google themselves roll out the red carpet for the latest Pixel lineup and accessories, and this year is like no other. And this year we have the Google Pixel 9. I can't believe it's a Pixel 9 already. Can you?
It is, yeah. I mean, the Pixel 8 has actually been going on for quite a while, hasn't it?
It has, isn't it? And so this year we have got a Pixel 9 standard phone, which is 6.3-inch display.
Yeah.
The Pixel 9 Pro, which gives you the same display sizes, but gives you all of the additional capabilities, and the Pixel 9 Pro XL, which is a 6.8-inch screen as well. And they all come with this new redesigned camera shape on the back, which is like an oval shape
rather than a rectangle. Yeah.
Yep, the G4 Tensor. They also now, like Apple, have got the satellite SOS feature. Let's be honest, everybody's going to be jumping on that bandwagon.
Got it now.
And the pricing's not too bad as well. So the Pixel 9 comes in at $799.
Yep.
The Pro is at $999, and the XLs is $99 over $1,000 at the minute. And they all are going to be available as of the 22nd. Sorry, the 9 and the XL on the 22nd of August. But you're going to have to wait for the standard size Pro, which is puzzling, isn't it?
That's bizarre.
But there was also a surprise device as well, wasn't there, announced at the same time?
Was it a surprise? I kind of expected a follow-up to the Fold.
I guess, yeah, I suppose. But the Pixel 9 Pro Fold.
Yes.
What a mouthful.
It is. So this device is it's taller and thinner, isn't it? It's got some larger displays. So it's the outside screen is 6.3 inches, like the normal Pixel 9s. The inside screen, so when you unfold it, is 8 inches. I think the inner display has a higher peak brightness than the last one at 2,700 nits. Again, it gets the new G4 Tensor chips, doesn't it? Satellite SOS features. The price is still hard to stomach. It's what, $1,800?
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's ouch.
But it looks very nice, I must admit. It looked like a nice device.
It does look like a nice device, and they're shipping on September the 4th. Now, I'll tell you something, though. Talking of folding devices, I don't know if you saw this the other day, but I saw a story in the tech press about Huawei's triple fold phone.
I've heard rumors about this for years.
Apparently, it's another picture of it in the wild has come out. It was shared on Weibo, and I know this isn't Google, but I just wanted to mention it. Right, the triple fold device, but didn't look much thicker than a standard phone, which is quite impressive. Now, again, there's not much information about it at the moment coming out, but I thought, given that we're talking about folding phones here, the Chinese have gone off and made a triple fold phone. I mean, Huawei, you can't actually use it anywhere outside of China, but it's a decent phone. So.
It's basically like a concertina, isn't it?
It must be, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But of course, all of these new devices have come with Google's Gemini AI built in now. So they are plowing ahead with the AI functionality. Of course, why wouldn't you? And there's a new Pixel Studio application, which is a bit like kind of ChatGPT or Claude, whatever your
text
flavor of AI
generator, isn't it?
Yes, is it. So you've got them on there. You can do the prompts, make your images on there. It also lets you, the AI, pick the new AI Pixel Screenshots app, which lets you search information from saved screenshots. There's, as you say, the editing tools in there as well. There's another kind of classic one, like the Google TV commercials, isn't it? It's like one where you're taking people out of the pictures. You can now add you back in. Which I thought was quite funny. And also, it lets you use generative AI to replace whole sections of a photo, like the sky. That we really have now, I think, got to the stage of where Photoshop, that used to be used for basic tasks like that, didn't it? Is now being replaced by some of the Gen AI capabilities.
Definitely. I mean, there's some clever stuff you can do there now. So it's been quite interesting. I question whether Pixel Screenshots is AI. Isn't that just OCR?
I think it probably is more OCR.
It's just OCR. I'm taking the text and putting it in a database and then searching the database. I don't think that's AI.
No, but it's machine learning.
Machine learning. I don't think it's even machine learning, if we're honest. But what else? They've got
differently.
Gemini. What is it? Gemini Live. The voice chat is going out to advanced subscribers shortly, isn't it?
Yes.
Where you can speak to it and it will respond using voice.
Yeah, which is that was announced earlier in the year, wasn't it? And now she
It's
said it's
finally
now going
rolling
out to
out.
people, who are paying money for Gemini. I don't, just to be clear, I'm not paying for Gemini. I alternate between Claude and OpenAI, ChatGPT, depending on my needs at the minute.
Yeah.
Um, from what I've seen of Gemini, I'm not overly enamored by it,
How
but it
about
is
Grok?
getting better. I am not giving Elon any of my money. It could be the best AI. It could be the best AI service out there. I refuse to give Elon any money.
Apparently, they've released the text to image generator part, and it's all unfiltered.
Well, it is and it isn't, isn't it? It's unfiltered to the extent of where you're not meant to be able to do anything. But basically, if you just talk about it,
Yeah,
you can get it to do it,
you can
can't you?
convince it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll come back to that in a second. The other couple of things announced in the event were the new Google Pixel Watch 3, which has
we
got a
did.
larger 45
Yeah,
mil
so you've
bezel
got
option.
two models. Sorry, like Apple, a smaller 41 and a
Yep.
larger 45, haven't you? So apparently, it's got a thinner bezel, so a larger screen underneath. It's got ultra wideband chips now.
Did you see that there was that feature about it detects if your pulse has stopped, so it'll call
The new
emergency
fitness
services.
feature, yeah, exactly. Has your pulse stopped, and are you not moving? And then we'll call emergency services if the wearer doesn't respond. I
Which I think is
suppose that's
great.
a valid one. Yeah, definitely.
I was just going to say that clearly is a good one, but I'm kind of worried about the situation you might find yourself in if that happens.
They'll just come and steal your watch.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, it's definitely coming out. And then also the one was the Pixel Buds Pro 2, wasn't it? Which
Yeah.
are the earbuds. They look quite cool, actually. I have to say they are nice. They've got little fins on them now, apparently, for new stability. There's new ANC capabilities and the new Tensor A1 chip, which sounds similar. What was the Apple one? Is that the
Is that
U1?
H1 or
H1 similar naming anyway.
can't? But yeah, this is about improving active noise cancellation, isn't it?
It is indeed. They reckon they've got about 8 hours of life with ANC, and with including the case and 30 hours overall,
Yeah.
which isn't bad. And they're not too expensive actually. They're $229, so up from $29 from the originals.
Yeah.
So that's still a pretty good price, considering what Apple's cost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and obviously, if you've got a Pixel, it's probably a no-brainer. There's probably a tight integration there.
Oh, massively. Yeah, and I have to say, when I look at the Pixel phones, you look at the screen quality, capabilities, as often as they are how you want to experience Android, because it's that vanilla Android experience, as Google intended it to be, not with all that Samsung bloatware on top of it. And it looks nice. And anybody, oh god, if I see another Samsung phone that uses the Comic Sans font, I may just explode. Oh, who in the right mind thought that was a good idea?
Let's switch to Gothic.
Oh dear. Anyway, but yes. So that was everything that Google launched at their lineup. So nice bit of tech coming from the people over in Mountain View. So then, but talking of Google, they are in a bit of a hot water recently with the US Justice Department, and the judge ruled, didn't he, in that court case that Google, I should phrase that, Alphabet's Google, not Alphabet itself, but Google initially monopolized the online search market. And that was a quote from the Justice Department. And as part of that, they're considering whether or not breaking up Google. Now, what I can't work out is, are they saying breaking up Google or are they saying breaking up Alphabet? It's the part I can't work out.
Well, what I read is he's asked for potential remedies, hasn't he, to be presented by, I think, the 4th of September for a hearing on 6th of September, the judge. And some of those remedies could include breaking up components of Google, so splitting out Chrome browser or the Android operating system away from Google search.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I suppose, the search business on its own, could be rolled out, and that's the original crux of Google itself.
Yeah, what I couldn't work out, does he mean by break up by they just become separate entities under Alphabet, or do they have to spin them off and sell them off?
That's I guess that's a good question. I mean, you're right.
If just sit under Alphabet, then there's no real difference, is it?
No, and surely then you just end up with how the companies were before Google bought them. Because Android obviously was an acquisition, other ones were acquisitions there. It wasn't AdWords an acquisition as well, or the company behind that, I think, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So you'd end up you end up with basically kind of how you started off. But you're right, just under the Apple Alphabet umbrella.
Yeah, I mean,
It would be.
other considerations I think they mentioned they were getting Google to share its data with competitors or ending exclusive agreements, like the Google's default search engine in Safari for iOS, blocking those kind of bits and pieces or stopping them.
Hey, yeah. However, though, there was a comment, wasn't there, from a former chief technologist for the FTC who was quoted as saying, talk of breaking up Google was total wish casting, which I kind of get, because you can imagine the legal team from Google trying to go to court to basically say this is not going to happen under any sun here, isn't it? And I think whether or not they violated antitrust laws or anything like that isn't in question or in doubt. I think it's how do you remedy that, and breaking them up probably isn't the right approach. But obviously Apple were paying Google, weren't they, several $1 billion. Sorry, the other way around. Google were paying Apple, several $1 billion.
More than several, wasn't it? Allegedly 18 or 20 billion.
Yeah. But if that money disappeared, I don't think Apple would be upset, because that's just like a rounding error on their services kind of revenue. Not anymore. I don't think anymore. They don't care.
What I do worry about is that obviously Google also pay Mozilla Firefox to be the default.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
And I think that's quite a lot of Mozilla's annual turnover or money they bring in comes from Google. But I know why Google are doing it. If Firefox is still around, Google has a competitor. They can't be or seem to be monopolistic. If I can get the word out there. I mean, I use Firefox all the time. I'd hate to see it disappear.
I don't. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't necessarily think that Firefox would disappear, but you're right. It could cause them massive issues in their business model. They'd have to reevaluate how they do that.
They are open source, so it could just be forked at any point, and we'll go off and call it a different name.
Yeah, I wonder how Google justifies, because we're almost at that stage, aren't we? Back to where Microsoft was, with Netscape and all that kind of stuff, and Google have just basically done the same thing, haven't they? Realistically,
of course they have, because nothing really happened to Microsoft about it, did it?
No. They got fined, but they carried on, and nothing really changed in the long run, did it?
No, obviously they lost the browser to Google eventually, but
well, they did, and ironically, Edge is built on Chromium.
Exactly, they gave up on their own engine, but yeah, Microsoft's still around and kicking. They're not doing too badly.
No, this is true.
They're still doing better than Google or Alphabet.
No, exactly. Nothing at all. All right, so let's swing over to Apple then, before we fire up the rumor mill. And this was an interesting one. So we talked about this a little while ago with that Apple were, I want to say forced, but let's just say they were kind of said that they were going to be opening up the ability for third parties to leverage the NFC chip in the iPhones, which makes a lot of sense.
Secure element
and the secure, not the secure on. Well, is it going to be the secure enclave, or is it? I think it's a secure element, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is obviously to do with the Digital Markets Act, obviously open now in Europe. And unsurprisingly, Apple have complied with this after some time. But there's a couple of buts, isn't there? There's a couple of gotchas here on there. So Apple originally said that nobody would be able to use the NFC capability, only Apple Pay, which is it. But now they're going to allow third-party developers to leverage that to do that. So they'll be able to build applications that can do, payments, use digital keys. They'll be able to leverage additional things like bus passes, IDs, loyalty tickets, all that capability. It'll all use the same application ID, framework underneath that. Allows people to, or other developers to build, what could, as Apple states, default contactless applications, which I don't know how they'll do that. And as you say, they're going to be able to use the secure elements and the secure enclave, and the biometric authentication piece as well. So effectively, all the same things you can do there with Apple Pay, but leveraging third-party applications. The gotcha is
a different wallet for every card I have.
Yeah, exactly. But the gotcha is they're going to have to join a commercial agreement with Apple, aren't they?
Yeah, that's not.
And they're going to have to meet. Yeah, they're going to have to meet certain industry and regulatory requirements.
Makes sense.
Which kind of agree with this one. So I'm thinking you're right. You know what? Actually, Apple are onto something here for a change. This isn't about making money here. This is about trying to reduce risk, isn't it? And ensure that the right developers access this
Yeah,
capability.
especially with
Because,
dealing with payment
you know,
information. Not just anyone can be a bank or a payment provider.
well, you hope not.
You hope not. But generally, it is allegedly regulated. So, yeah, I mean, Apple's putting in those guidelines and regulations there just to make sure that people you're trusting your payment information with, it's secure.
Yeah, and I have to say, I saw it this morning, and maybe yesterday I read, I can't remember, that Canada's what the next country to allow driving licenses and IDs to go into Apple Wallet.
Over here.
And I was just going to think of the same. I wish that they would allow this in the UK. Why wouldn't we? It would be such a great capability to have my driving license.
I'm a passport.
Yeah, or any of that capability, a mobile version. Obviously, still carry it, but it'd be super handy to have it on the phone as well, especially if passing through customs or anything like that, or immigration, I should say. It would be awesome. I'm well up for that. So one thing I do think we're ahead on some features in the UK, especially around contactless payments and all that capability.
Yeah.
But I think we're behind in some of the others.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just the UK, it's Europe generally on that. I travelled, was it last week? We went over to France, took the kids to Disney. I took my wallet with me, but I don't think I ever got it out for my cards. I just used Apple Pay everywhere.
That's what
Even
I mean.
in small little village shops in rural France, boom, Apple Pay, not a problem.
Yeah, do you know what? I have to say, I travel the world like you do, and very rarely do I get a card out my wallet. In fact, the only time these days I tend to get a card out my wallet is if the hotel I'm checking into doesn't have a card on file.
That's it. And then you're like, where did I put my wallet? It's in my bag somewhere. Oh, God.
Like,
right, pull your bag apart.
What's the PIN number? That's the other question I've got then.
So I got saved on my phone.
Right then. On that note, so we've got two rumours in the bucket this week then. So let's kick off first one, which is around the AirPods Pro 3. So it's very likely we are going to get new AirPods Pro, isn't it, in the next year or so. So they reckon AirPods Pro 3 are coming next year. But before that, we should get AirPods. This is where it confused me. AirPods 4.
The non-Pro.
The non-Pro model, coming here as well. But they reckon the new features of the AirPods 3, they reckon, are going to be, uprated ANC capabilities, possibly a new design, which is, according to German, of him of more things. That there is no announcement yet on whether or not we're going to get any of those new health features. Now, they could reckon that there's the H2 chip coming in as well, which is H3, currently H2. Apologies, that's my mistake. I misread that. To give you more capabilities, better connection, and all that. And the health improvements are the one we're kind of thinking about. So there was talking before that they were going to allow the AirPods to measure kind of ear temperature, wasn't there, and things like that, and give you some kind of, readings
in your wrist, wasn't it?
Now, I have to say, I think that would be super cool because the wrist one isn't a particularly good place to do temperature. For those that have got children or if you've gone to the doctor, you stick some in your kid's ear, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it would be good to get that. Sounds a bit more accurate. I mean, they are also talking about the other one was exploring allowing the AirPods Pro 3 to do hearing tests, basically screen for hearing issues.
Because today you can currently do that. I don't know if you've ever tried that. So the AirPods Pro, you can do a tone test.
Right, gotcha. Yep.
And
I don't have AirPods, so.
So if you do a tone test. It then sets the kind of the what's the word what's the old slider? I can't think of the word of it. That gives you that's it. Thank you, the EQ. It sets out based on the tone tests that you get, and I've done that because I couldn't hear some bits very well, and it actually sounds a bit better. So it's quite good.
To go hand in hand with that though is potential of it being a hearing aid.
That would be great. Sometimes I personally struggle when the background noise is really high. So I could do with something, because my hearing is not that bad, but when the background noise is terrible, I can't hear very well. So something that could cut the background noise out and allow for better conversations would be good. But the problem with that would be I feel very conscious then wearing AirPods, talking to somebody in a social situation. Does that make sense?
It's a bit weird, yeah. It's like, well, you've still got your headphones on. Take them off. No, I can't hear you then.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, exactly. But I guess so. If you are maybe if you wear hearing aids or they work in conjunction with the hearing aids, I don't know. I guess that'd be another capability, I suppose.
Maybe, I suppose we would probably only see that in America to start off with, because I know you can now, I think in America, some of the rules have relaxed on hearing aids, and you can kind of buy over the counter or use headphones as them to kind of help to a certain level. I
Yeah,
think they're a bit more regulated in other countries.
yeah. Well, let's be honest. Yeah, that is a very good point. There's a lot of regulation in other countries that the US doesn't have.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, was it Sennheiser? They bought a hearing aid company not so long
They
ago, a
did.
year or two ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
As
You're all in the hearing business, really.
it is good, I have to say. I mean, I've got Pro 2s, they're great ones. I don't necessarily think I need to update unless there's some real fundamentally different capabilities. If the hearing aid and the temperature thing was true, I might be considering it, I have to say.
Yep.
But I think, as they are. But the AirPods themselves, they are great devices. They do everything they say on the tin. They're just good. I can't, something just works.
Yep.
That's the thing I love about AirPods. They just work. And I love the seamlessness of being on my phone. I pull out my laptop at work, and they can automatically connect, or I press play. And there's no faffing around, is there? There's no reconnecting, fiddling with the Bluetooth settings. It does what it says in the tin, which sometimes that's just what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So then, the last rumor of the week. I'll let you take this one because I'm not so sure about this.
So we did report on this. The colours for the new iPhone 16 Pros? A couple
We
of
did,
weeks
yeah.
back, didn't we? Yeah. And at that point, it was rumored to be a kind of rose gold, bronzy color. But now, a tipster on X called Sony Dixon has basically released photos showing the lineup for the Pro models. We have the white, we have the silver, we have the black, and what looks like bronze, brown.
Well, this
Food
is the
colours?
question, isn't it? They reckon it's bronze titanium, don't they?
Yeah.
But to me, it almost looks like just kind of a cross between the gold color that we had a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And that's all I can see. Maybe I'm wrong. That's all I can see. I don't know what you can see.
This isn't a great shot. I think I'd have to see this one in person, or at least some better high res photos. But as someone on Reddit said, it looked a bit like poo. And I think that's all I can kind of see now.
Well, maybe you need to go to the doctor if that's what you're.
I know. I didn't say healthy ones, but you know what I mean. I if that's what it is, and I'm sure it's going to look better in person. I just need to go and see
it. So to recap, then, natural titanium, black titanium, white titanium, and now potentially bronze titanium is what the rumor is, isn't it, for the iPhone 16 lineup?
And they've dropped the blue.
Do you know what? For me, I'm upgrading this year, as you know.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'll probably go black titanium. If it doesn't look as good as that, natural, it's fine. Unless they came out with some really decent colors. I know we keep saying this, but I wish they'd do product red in
oh god,
in this lineup.
An iPhone Pro Max in product red titanium, or whatever they're going to call it. Yeah, I'd be up for that, definitely.
Why wouldn't you do it?
More vibrant. Does it just because you're a professional buying professional phones? Does it mean you have to have boring?
No. Why would you? Why? And I just think of the money.
Yeah.
I'm
paying a lot more money for this. I want some color.
Yeah, why not? But there you go.
I still think they should keep titanium on the side and put some ceramic backs on, and we could have all sorts of lovely colors on them.
If only you and I were in the Apple product device. And on that bombshell, it's probably a good place for us to wrap up for today then. So we'll be back next week with episode 179. Yeah, I had to think about that. Where we're going to talk all the latest tech news. I can tell you this week already lined up some CPU news coming on, and all of the latest coming from the tech world, and games and films and videos. Of course, as always, you can find us at techrant.online on YouTube, and also wherever you get your podcast, and of course on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it this week, at Weekly Tech Rant. So I've been Jay.
I've been Karl. Have a good one all.